Why did I just overhear Lewis say the 15th of the month I get a check whether the camera is on or off or in Billy's ass?
Because he's got really bad energy today about him over in that corner. He comes in like this guapo that's coming in and he's like laying down laws and he's making ordinance. And I'm like, get over to your corner with sick Tony over there because Tony's been coughing and he has something going on with his eyes and he keeps telling everybody he's not sick. He just has sinusitis, but his wife is sick. And it's like, dude, you're sick. Like, stay sick over there in the corner. My wife is sick now too. I know it's coming for me. I'm going to get a fever at some point in the next 2 days. Just stay over there away from me.
Stop that.
And then Lewis, who's Tony's hype man, who whatever Tony does, he's like, oh, that's a good idea. Over there in the corner. It's like, dude, just chill over there in the corner. And then they were giving me this attitude. And I said, you know what I'm going to do, Lewis? I'm going to turn on the Zoom camera in the middle of a segment just to throw everything off, just so you're going to have to do extra work today. And then that's when he said that he doesn't care because he gets paid the 15th of the month regardless.
This place, if this were a football team, you would see during the game teammates tackling each other, like on offense on the same team. The running back is running for a clean sweep, and then the pulling guard just turns around and tackles him. Is the kind of teamwork you get out here. Stugotz, are you and Billy? God Bless Football starts on Friday?
Yep, God Bless Football starts on Friday. We got some big-time guests coming on. I got Stugotz. I mean, we got a lot going on this Friday.
That sounds as random as Greg Cody's visible ad read.
No,
some big-time guests. You could be more
generic
specific.
words.
Okay, wait, hold on a second. There's a reason.
And much, much more.
There's a reason for that because we've already recorded with 2 big-time guests. The problem is we have, I believe, 3 more interviews set up.
Big time or no?
So. You know what I mean? Like, there, names that you would know. It's just now, Dan, because there's a limited time for that, and there's also stupidity. Now it's kind of where we figure out where the puzzle pieces fit. You know what I mean? Like, who's going to get on God Bless Football? Who's going to be stupidity this week? So we don't want to... you know what? I'll just tell you some of the names. So you guys, should I tell them some of the names?
Yeah, tell him.
Tell them.
We have Jalen Hurts on one of them this week.
Yes.
We have Marcus Freeman on one of them this week.
After a loss?
After a loss. Yeah.
Wow.
Those are some big-time guests.
Well, hold on. After a win, Ryan Day is scheduled to appear with us.
We have Notre Dame, Ohio State covered.
On one of these.
Yep. After the game. Yeah.
Yeah. We also have friend of the show. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this one yet, Stugotz, or not.
You could say it.
Mina Kimes is scheduled to join us somewhere at some point. And then we have Sims and Golick, and then the whole, Mojo, Chris Gronkowski, K-Funk, Jabba situation, who has promised us the guest as well, but won't tell us who the guest is. So we'll be surprised by their guest.
Can you explain this to me?
K-Funk.
All right, let's go ahead and chronicle this because that podcast is a raging success, internationally awarded prizes. Billy is now the 5th-ranked insider in the world, not just the United States, because of God Bless Football. It is a sprawling mess, at least because Billy... what happened?
How so?
Well, just because these Gronks, the Gronk family makes a mess. They leave. Like when they leave, it's as if a family of bears have been in your kitchen. When them and
It's
all
a
their
Russian
friends.
nesting doll of meatheads.
I mean, it's just it's an unspooling.
I'll have you know one of them has an MBA. Not one of the Gronks, Mojo.
Right. Yeah.
And he claims to be the youngest person to ever get an MBA from the University of Maryland.
Yep. Dan, I'll say this, that, we have Golick on every week. We have Sims on every week. We get great guests. I mean, I think Billy would agree with me. The most fun we have is with those 4 meatheads for 20 minutes every single week. They just make us laugh. They make us smile.
I thought, though, that there were also, I've heard over the last, 18 months, you and them making all sorts of plans. We're going to do a remote in Vegas. We're going to a bachelor party. We're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to be with Gronk. Yeah. And it seems like they take your microphones and they don't actually invite you guys to anything. Or they invite you, but then it doesn't end up happening.
Well, Daddy's got to give us a company card, you know what I mean? And then we can make these things happen. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day sometimes.
Yeah. They invite us. We just don't attend, Dan.
Yeah.
They've invited us to everything. Like, we're invited to Mojo's wedding. It's in Italy.
That's something that we're going to have to discuss on this week's episode because I was told by someone the invites for that have gone out.
Yeah.
And I have not gotten one. I don't know if Stugotz got one. I'm assuming Stugotz didn't get one, but I
got one.
Did you really?
Yeah.
He's lying.
No, you didn't.
Where is it?
Billy, I'll forward it to you right now.
Did you really get one?
Chicken time.
I have the invitation, chickens.
Okay.
Send it to me right now. Send it to me right now.
Okay, hold on.
I've been told that it's at a castle in Italy. The thing is that we've blown them off so many times that now we're not getting invited to as many things.
You know what's funny about that, Billy? I learned the other day, to my shock and amazement, castles, surprisingly reasonable.
That's what they were saying. That's what they were saying. They were saying to rent a castle in Italy costs like the same to have a wedding here in America.
Couldn't believe it. I couldn't. When somebody was, I had to go look it up, and they're like, nope, they got a bunch of them, and they got like B&Bs out there, and you could, or C&Cs or whatever it is you want to
You
call
just
them.
wanted breakfast? So you're like, I want to rent a castle.
No. I was not looking to rent a castle for myself. I was talking to people about Moss events.
At a castle?
And I was told it's surprisingly cheap to rent a castle.
You want to have the saddest Moss event ever? Not K-Moss. That's going to be a raging success. We should have one at Coral Castle.
Oh my God.
Are you familiar with Coral Castle?
Go ahead, Billy.
Do you know Coral Castle, Dan, or no? Coral
do
Castle
not.
is one of the creepiest places in Miami that has ever existed.
Wow.
Look up Coral Castle, Google Coral Castle. Coral Castle is this, if I remember correctly from the visit that I made to Coral Castle, it's like off of US 1 somewhere, I think, like in the middle of nowhere. And it's like this shrine that this kind of, God rest his soul, creepy guy made to some woman that he was like in love with, that I think never ended up marrying her, and he made her a castle.
This is not where
out
the
of
Wades
all
got
this
married,
coral.
is it?
No. This is like a castle that's like made out of coral that he got out of wherever, and he shaped them like the shapes of moons, and it was like this massive thing that he meant for a lover that I don't think that he ever had. And now it's just there, and you can kind of go visit it off the side of the road somewhere. His spirit haunts it? Well, that's from Lewis, so we don't know if it's true or not.
As God Bless Football gets ready to take off into the sky, Stugotz, can you answer the question for me of whether or not this century the Patriots have gone into a season with expectations here?
Where, this low? Billy, by the way, I just sent you the invite to the wedding. You'll be upset you didn't get it. So, no, with the expectations this low, I would say maybe the season...
Not this low, Stugotz, where there are no expectations. The Patriots,
there are no expectations.
Is this the first time this century that the Patriots, or I guess probably at the beginning of the century, you would have before the Brady thing?
No, but Dan, keep in mind that,
then.
keep in mind, I think Bledsoe was the quarterback for those Patriot teams. They were still very good teams, and then Brady eventually took over for Bledsoe because he got hurt. So there were expectations headed into that season. Maybe, I don't know, do you remember what the expectations, what the talk was the year Brady left, like 2 years ago? Was anyone expecting anything from them?
It was Cam
anyone talking
Newton.
about them?
Cam Newton was their quarterback.
Oh,
People
you're right.
thought that,
Cam.
that Belichick was going to do something
People
with Cam
thought
Newton.
people thought Cam was going to work out. I remember thinking, that's old Cam.
But it's more that Bill Belichick still had his credibility, whereas now it's 2 years removed from Bill Belichick's full height of his credibility, and now people are starting to look at him, and you're saying you're handing off your offense to Joe Judge and Matt Patricia. You're handing your defense off to your sons. Are you just doing the whole thing? Like, is this just an entirely Bill Belichick show? And the reports from training camp, which are more credible than whatever happens in preseason, is that they couldn't be functional for a day of practice this entire offseason.
Matt Patricia, the reporting has been a disaster, right? Doesn't even make sense, the idea that he would be calling plays on offense for that team, and then they share it with Judge, and now nobody knows who's calling the plays.
Yeah, Mac Jones, I don't know if he said this or has or vocalized frustration during a practice once where he said, the number of dead-end plays that we have is astounding. Like, where I run to the sideline and there's nothing. There is nothing for me to do with the football. Like, that, it's just startling. It's startling.
And the dead end plays, I love the idea of just somebody running into a corner somewhere and just stopping and being like, okay, this is a dead end, and just dropping the football and going back to the huddle.
And I want to plug something that Chris Cody and Tony did last Friday, our Miami Dolphins season preview. I believe, did the New England Patriots not sign Devontae Parker? Yeah, they did. And Tony had a stat on that podcast episode where he was saying that Devontae Parker in the NFL for the last 2 seasons
has been the worst receiver in separation.
He has the lowest separation of any receiver in
127th and 132nd out of all receivers. He's been the lowest in separation.
And so the Patriots
I don't
bring
think
him
that's
in,
good.
And that is not going to help solve the problem of dead end plays.
Billy, you have on your computer, I believe, the first ever loss by the Kentucky Fried Chickens.
Yeah. Stugotz was invited to this wedding.
Eat it.
He sent me the evite. I'm now on the wedding website. I'm seeing all the details, the wedding hashtags, the registry.
What's the hashtag?
Hashtag?
Look at how happy Stugotz is. Tony, for that question, go ahead and go and sit in the penalty box. Sit your sick ass in the penalty box
Yeah,
for
he's
that
sick. I'm telling you, cover your face. Don't
I was
way
there.
over
I'd go there with him. 5-minute major.
question.
Stugotz, though, here's my question to you. Have you RSVP'd? Because there's a very quick turnaround. This was sent August 23rd, and the date, well, it doesn't matter. No one's going to go. Is October 16th, which is 5 weeks or something. So have you RSVP'd? Are you going to this?
No, I haven't. I told him I received the email. I haven't told him what I'm doing yet. I mean, I'm going to.
He's doing the same thing. This thing with Stugotz. There it is. Whittingham's dropping his head in his hands, his manicured hair into his hands because he knows Stugotz. It's the weirdest thing. He is commitment phobic. He will kick any can down the road. He will not commit to anything ever, even if it's the next day. He says, "I'll get back to you."
I feel like Obama could invite him golfing, and he would be like, "Nah."
Let me check my schedule. Look at my calendar.
What's happening there, Billy? As the producer of Stugotz and God Bless Football, what is happening there? Because it's the same with you, right? It's some version of "I'll let you know."
No. Nah. I mean, here's the thing. Stugotz, when he tells you maybe, already knows what the answer is. Just doesn't want to say anything that will upset you.
Isn't maybe always no? Isn't always no?
98% of the
I'll
time
let you
it's
know.
No.
Unless you really shame
allow
him.
me to answer for myself. When I give you a maybe, it's a strong lean to being no.
No, it's
if
not.
I give you a
No,
yes
it's not.
right out of the gate.
No.
It
depends on the situation. Because if it's like, Stugotz, can you maybe come here? Then it's probably no. He's not going to come. But then Stugotz will use a maybe in another direction. I don't know what happened to me there. In another direction, and he'll say, "I may be going to Chicago for 6 months straight, and I'll let you know." And then you're like, "Okay, well, when is that?" He's like, "I'll get back to you." And then it's like, "Well, it's today. See you in September." And it's like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "I told you. I let you know that it's maybe."
Little hug and I'm off on my
Exactly,
way. By the
yeah.
way, October 16th. I mean, the Jets play the Packers. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's a big one.
The thing is, I am not a psychologist. I did take one class, though, in college, so I may be qualified to do this. I think what it is Stugotz just doesn't want to disappoint people and upset people, so he doesn't give them the straight answer right away, which just leads to more disappointment on the back end of the situation.
Yeah. He's identified it correctly, Dan. That's kind of what's going on with me. Listen, really what I'm pursuing, really what the chase is to get the invite. Whether I go or not doesn't really matter. As long as I get invited, like Marcus Freeman has invited me to spend 24 hours with him at Notre Dame. Now, I told him I'd go, but there's a good chance I won't. But at least I got the invite. I mean, how about that?
Well, you did promise him a specific day that you were going to go do this.
Why wouldn't you do that? That'd be a funny bit. You shadowing him all for 24 hours.
Because it's work.
Stugotz,
He's got to get on a plane, and it's not for the dead.
If any of us got the invite to go to a wedding in Italy, and we had the resources to be there, and presumably Mojo Raleigh's wedding is going to be very fun. Yeah. It's in a castle in Italy. Book your plane ticket and go, man. Go!
Yeah, Jets Packers. I mean,
you'll see 1,000 Jets Packers games for the rest of your life. Go to a castle in Italy, would you please?
Nah, I won't. I'm going to Castle in Green Bay, Lambeau Field. That's where I'm going.
Well, Stugotz, you did just get permission to not be around those days because it's a Sunday through Wednesday. So you could now just say, I'm going to go.
We're not monitoring
No
anybody's vacation time. It's why he's from home today and doing an hour, and Amin is flying in. We're not monitoring vacation time. He can go wherever he wants, whenever he wants. I wanted to ask you guys this. When I saw Patrick Beverley show up at Laker camp with the press conference, and when they asked him, hey, you're playing with Anthony Davis and LeBron, and his response was, they're playing with me. They're playing with Patrick Beverley. I was in the playoffs last year. They were not. Is Patrick Beverley the Stugotz of the NBA, where Westbrook greets him at the press conference because everyone knows whatever Patrick Beverley says, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a bunch of gibberish. It's a bunch of words. It's filled with just noise making so that he can get attention for himself. But Russell Westbrook isn't actually someone who's beefing with him.
I actually don't think he's that Stugotzian, because I think he believes everything that he's saying, isn't he? Like, Patrick Beverley does actually believe that it is an honor to play with him. There is a reason why playoff teams over and over again want to have him in their team, because he's the irrational confidence guy that it's no problem being out on the floor during the NBA Finals. There are other players who have confidence issues and get run off because of defense or whatever. Patrick Beverley, if he gets a chance to shoot a 3 in an NBA Finals game, he's got no problem shooting it.
You don't think that Stugotz, when he says maybe, he believes himself, that it's not a lie because Stugotz believes it? Isn't that why he's such a pathological liar?
No, if Stugotz were Patrick Beverley, he would say, I'm going. I will be at that wedding. I will be the life of the party, and then not show up. But the maybe hemming and hawing, that's not very Beverly.
But that's what he
No, Patrick Beverley doesn't show up every night. Get the hell out of here. I mean, come on.
He told Marcus Freeman he will show up. It depends on how famous you are. That's another thing. He will not. He will lie to you more boldly if you're famous about, yes, whatever you want, whatever you need, I will do, and then not do it. What are you shaking your head about, Whittingham?
It's just like, that's a cool thing. Like, you're going to be spending some time in the greater Illinois area that's not far away from Notre Dame. Like, just say yes. Set a date. Go.
I did say yes, and we did set a date. My daughter, Northwestern, is playing Notre Dame at Notre Dame, and so I have set a date with Marcus Freeman, who, let me tell you, win, lose, it doesn't matter. That guy goes to sleep every night waking up knowing that he's going to be the best-looking guy in any room he walks into. What a feeling that must be. What a handsome devil. Seriously.
Totally with you. The fist pump after they went up 7-3. ESPN goes to break with the slow-motion montage of Marcus Freeman celebrations. My God, Pa.
Stugotz, did you see that McAfee got another coveted job last night? According to Front Office Sports, he's going to be on College Gameday.
Jesus.
Every weekend. And it made me think, Stugotz, because he's got to navigate so many things here with wrestling. I don't know whether he's going to do private plane stuff or not, but the fact that the college football season has already started makes me think that McAfee was negotiating tough with them, made the season start because he's so coveted, and then at the last minute, everything comes together, and all of a sudden he's going to be in Austin for Texas, Alabama this weekend. But the season has already started, and I do think that they have to add some life to that show and keep developing it, and they have to find a replacement for Corso. I don't know how they're going to end up using McAfee, but the next iteration of this show, whenever it is that Corso is gone, it's going to need... what is it, 36 years now that show has been around? It's going to need something. And now that he's working with Peyton Manning and Omaha Productions on a bunch of other stuff, McAfee is killing it again. Not since Rolf Benershka hosted Daytime Wheel of Fortune has an NFL kicker of any sort.
Parlayed into so
It's
much.
unbelievable, but he's using everybody. He's not. He doesn't have to commit to anybody. He just gets to jump from platform to platform, and he's just overtaking the industry. There's nobody doing the things that he's doing. Congratulations to him, man, because I don't know where he's going to find the time to do all these things, but basically it is just people want to be around a likable energy, a high energy. He's got a lot of enthusiasm, and it's what I was telling you about Robert Griffin III and his broadcasts. Like, I do think there is the possibility that the next iteration, next incarnation of rebellion in broadcasting is simply the controversial way of delivering, Stugotz, energetic, enthusiastic commentary, some bombast around what it is that you're doing, as opposed to just taking and just enjoying that you're there and having that enjoyment be contagious. What are you laughing about, Billy?
Well, we were just talking about this wedding because you were talking about good energy and McAfee, and I said I don't think I'd be able to hang with McAfee. Like, he just seems to be too high energy for me. Like, I don't think, like, I know people want to be around him. I don't think he'd want to be around me. I don't think I'd be able to have this energy. And I go, honestly, Probably same thing with this wedding. Like, if I were invited to this wedding, I'd be the worst person at this wedding because I wouldn't have the energy that professional wrestlers have. Like, I'd be the most boring person there. And then Chris said, "Oh, me too." Like,
try to make him feel better.
He's like, "Oh, me too." I go, "No, Chris, you could light up a dance floor." And he's like, "No. Like, at a celebrity wedding, I'd just be quiet." And then Whitty just turned around and said, "Get a couple drinks in Chris Cody." Like, he'd be the star of the wedding. He's like, "I know. I just wanted to be humble."
It is true. A couple of drinks and he'll be spinning on his back.
I'll do the Michael Jackson kick on the dance floor.
You're gonna you throw some cardboard on the floor and start spinning on your back.
It'd be a Monday Night Raw in like 3 weeks.
Stugotz, what am I supposed to do with the coverage around Tom Brady? I told you this when he took the sabbatical for 11 days. And he was able somehow to come back with the quote, "I'm 45, a lot of shit happens." I've, throughout his career, marveled at Tom Brady's ability to keep all things private. With that level of fame, we don't allow you to make those choices. We are invasive. And TMZ and others are now very comfortable reporting gossip about his marriage. I don't know what's true, what's not true. What I immediately assumed when he had 11 days off is that there was emergency stuff that needed to be tended to, and we went down the path, hypothetically, of how does Gisele Bündchen, who is every bit as successful in her realm, which is also difficult. People think it's just taking pictures, Stugotz. You just take pictures. It's a difficult way to make a living. She was, or is, the world supermodel, and she's had to sacrifice her career and been quoted as saying, "Tom gets to focus on his career and I have to take care of the kids, but I also have a career." She's been quoted by him as saying that she wants him back home. She wants him to be done with football. What an interesting conundrum to have, Stugotz, because all of us as men would want the fountain of youth forever in our careers, but what makes his career any more important than her career?
No, it's a great point. And nothing really makes his career more important than her career. Dan, he said it. I'm 45. I've got a lot of shit going on. And it's true. They have a lot of stuff going on at this time of their life. That he has a kid who's just started playing high school football. They have two or three other kids. She wants to move on with her career. She wants Tom to be home more, to be with the kids, to be a better father, to be a better husband, and to free up some time so she can go pursue some of the things that she wants to do. I mean, I think this is just like what you do with it. I don't think you do anything with it. I think they have to work it out, figure it out, because they're going through what a lot of married couples.
I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what. Wait a minute. I'm not.
It feels icky talking about their marriage before we know for sure he wasn't on The Masked Singer.
This is what I am asking.
I think he acknowledged this, Billy, on his own radio show. So
I'm asking you, Stugotz, when I ask you what am I supposed to do with it, there are things that are allowed to be private, but we do not allow famous people to have their privacies. And while I don't know what is going on in their marriage, there's a lot of reporting that doesn't feel very firm, that doesn't feel very good. It seems like, doesn't mean it's wrong, but there's reporting about big fights. And I really don't know how to discuss the most prominent athlete in America, what's going on in his marriage, what's fair to discuss as soon as he takes the 11 days off. You'll remember that we left Tiger Woods and that stuff all alone right up until there was a police report and there's a golf club through the back window of his car. And now all of a sudden the privacy gets breached everywhere because they've invited us in with details. Once Tom Brady leaves for 11 days, that you could keep some of this stuff private right up until he leaves for 11 days. Then you've got teammates are bothered by this, even if he's Tom Brady. Nobody likes a different set of rules in that workplace.
Teammates? They can shut up. Like what teammate does Tom Brady have that's like, Tom, you got to pull your own weight around here, buddy.
But Tom Brady would be that guy for other people. Like, this is unprofessional behavior on the eve of a season to just often leave. That the sort of future of this organization is on the whims of a 45-year-old. Like, it is sort of bizarre. It's a very bizarre working environment for a sports team. It might work because Tom Brady has overcome everything that's come his way in his career. But yeah, I mean, this is not the way to start an NFL season. It's not professional by any standard. And I do sort of wonder, like, because you brought up Tiger Woods. What have we learned, I guess, in the 13 years since? We talked about what have we learned in the aftermath of Manti Te'o, like wedging ourselves in the personal relationships, celebrity couples that are in the headlines all the time, like, you know, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. Like, what have we actually learned?
That was dicier, though, Woody. There was infidelity involved. There was a golf club to the back of his car involved. Like, there was other stuff involved there. Just this,
but we wedged,
this just
we
seems
wedged
to be
ourselves.
like a guy. This seems to be like a guy in Tom Brady who is still great at this thing that he does and has no reason it's still being this great at his profession, and they're trying to figure out how to work their way through it. That's what it seems like from the reporting, where, you know, she wants him to be home more. He probably made promises that he would be home more, and he's not fulfilling those promises, and she's had enough of it. And so, I mean, it's a totally different situation.
But again, what have we learned, right? Like, are we in a position to judge from on high the relationships of other people? Like, that's sort of, I think, what we've learned about celebrity culture in the last few years, have we not? Like, and it's in the newspapers, right? It's in the New York Post, page 6. It's in People magazine. There are a bunch of sources, you know, saying things about the relationship dynamic between this couple. At the same time, though, like, I've never really been that comfortable with that, and I'm not going to speculate until things develop.
That's
right?
not the part of this that I'm interested in. Whether or not they're having marital problems is not the part I'm interested in. The part I'm interested in is just a Tom Brady at 45 years old has no precedence for his excellence, and now we're asking him for balance at a position that's inherently lopsided, where Drew Brees is always in the facility at 10 p.m. and he's saying, as everyone's leaving, excellence is lonely. If a wife requests balance from you and you're in that position, can you give her balance? Is it even possible during an NFL season? My wife doesn't like when football comes around. My wife rolls her eyes at September because her Sundays get taken. I'm not kidding you.
Join the club.
I'm not joking. She's like, how long is this thing? This was this week. I'm like, oh, we go
They
till
added
February.
another week to this last year.
More games. More games.
God.
Is it possible, is what I'm asking you, Stugotz, is what just...
Oh, you have to work Sunday night. Great.
Is what Gisele Bündchen is what a wife or a partner might be requesting from Tom Brady. Is it possible?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, at this point, Whittingham, I understand what you're saying. If you're one of his teammates, though, when Brady says, hey, I am going to show up to the stadium once a week, no more practices, I'm done. I'll be there at 12:45, enough time to get the pads on, maybe get a quick stretch in, you know, work out the shoulder a little bit, make a couple of throws to Mike Evans, okay? And I'm going to leave at 4:05. I am gone. Occasionally, I'll be there at 3:55 for a 4:05 start. I'll be gone by 7:15, home in time for dinner. If he said that to you, you're one of his teammates, okay? You are agreeing to that on the spot. Are you not? I mean, who cares? If anyone could pull that off with no practice and just show up for the games, Tom Brady could pull it off. And so, yeah, there's a way where he just shows up for the games. Who cares?
And you tell your teammates, look, if this is an issue, blame Gabbert, okay?
Yeah,
like, that's
exactly.
the option.
Right. Here
so,
are your choices. Right here. Kyle Trask.
That is funny, Stugotz. Now, do you want to actually entertain my question or not really?
No, it's impossible, Dan.
To entertain my question or impossible?
No. To have life balance while playing quarterback in the NFL.
I also think, like, if you're Tom Brady, you're doing something that is so generation-defying, sport-defying, human-defying. Being good at a sport at age 45, you're doing something that literally no one has ever done. How could you, as someone who's come up in sport and values everything that sport gives you, not want every drop of being good at 45?
Is what he's doing any worse than what Gronk's going to do, which is just show up in the middle of the season because he didn't want to go through training camp?
Yeah, but Gronk's not married.
I'm just saying, in terms of like, you guys are like, this is so unprofessional. He disappeared right before the season started. It's like, Gronk's going to show up in the middle of the season, and then they'll make the playoffs, and everyone will be perfectly
Gronk isn't
happy.
being paid right now for what it is that he's doing. Billy, you don't have to take this up with me. I would say to you that Tom Brady should be able to make all his own rules in his workplace, or largely his own rules. I trust him to be responsible about that. I just don't. We'll talk to TJ Houshmandzadeh about this later, but I just don't think in that sport. Well, I mean, you can speak to this in basketball, the availability of a teammate. I don't know how much Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden broke up over availabilities, but when one guy looks over, no matter who he is, at another guy in the locker room, even though there are rules for everybody that are different, these guys notice when they have to run and they have to be in meetings and someone else and their leader doesn't have to be.
First of all, I'd like to point out that the first place I heard that Giselle and Tom Brady might be having some issues was right here on this very program. I got it.
He fought through it.
Yeah.
He's got this. Don't worry.
Was on this very program. And it was you, Dan LeBatard, who said, I have a career too, and now you want me to raise the kids? You're supposed to raise the kids. You were the first one. You were the first one to bring that up, Dan. And so when the news broke, I was like, man, this Dan LeBatard guy is a reporter or what? He had all the sources, and he just passed it off as reckless speculation. So I sit here today and say, Dan, did you know? Or was that just an educated guess?
Did you come close to answering the question I threw to you?
I asked the question back.
Someone just answered Dan's question.
What's the question?
What's the question?
Did you say we're going to discuss this with a former Bengals wide receiver?
I got so excited, Stugotz.
Why did you get so excited?
TJ Houshmandzadeh?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Just falling out of the sky. Like, whoa, where'd he come from?
What's next?
Mid-2000s football, that is like the pinnacle of a name you can drop from mid-2000s football.
Witty, if I give you Troy Polamalu.
Wow.
Nah.
Willie
No?
Parker.
Oh.
We're already this old where we can play this for the football now.
Past Willie Parker. I mean,
The question was, I mean, you fought through the phlegm, and then you just
like, you know what?
you did what players and coaches do in press conferences, where they don't care what the question is; they're going to say what they've got to say. Whether teammates get mad at other teammates disappearing for 11 days, or having a different set of rules, or getting to do work differently than the way that they're doing work.
I present to you the Clippers of 2 or 3 years ago when Kawhi Leonard was living in San Diego, and Patrick Beverley and Lou Williams and the guys who were there before Paul George and Kawhi got there were upset that there was a separate set of rules for these guys, and that Kawhi wasn't around. And when he was hurt, he didn't sit on the bench. He sometimes he wouldn't show up. Sometimes he'd show up, he'd sit in the luxury box. That was a classic example of, yeah, we get it. He's great. He's better than all of us. But why does he have a separate set of rules? And then if you talk to some people weren't even upset that Kawhi was doing that. They would say, Kawhi, we get it. 2-time finals MVP, champ, all that stuff. But Paul George gets this treatment too? There are some people questioning that. And again, I don't think anyone questions the talent level or the contribution on the court. But yes, there is a level of, I mean, I thought we're all in this together. Now, the difference is with Tom Brady, clearly this is a family issue. So I don't think guys are going to be upset at him because home isn't right, because they all know, man, that can get real ugly real quick, and everyone's been through that situation where you have conflict in the home. So I don't think the guys are going to hold him as kind of sternly accountable as though he were like Kyrie Irving saying, oh, I was really upset about what happened in the news. Like that I think would get a different type of response from his teammates.
If anyone is going to get this kind of carte blanche, it would be this guy. But the reason that and no, to answer your question, I mean, I did not know anything, but I assumed either a family member is sick. It was so odd for a leader of this kind who respects teammates and football to have an emergency, and it must be an emergency at home, for him to leave preparation 11 days early when he's 45 and young people in a place so competitive you don't even understand how competitive it is for money. They all are coming after him, and whatever you think, Stugotz, no matter how easy he makes it look, getting a 45-year-old body ready for whatever Sunday is, no matter your experiences, that work week is a holy hell of preparation for him to get everything out 2 seconds, for him to recognize every defense. Stugotz, he's not coming in with a memorized test. He's got to do that he's got to do that work every single week. And I just think it's really hard to come home. Never mind to come home at a time when you can be with the wife and kids. But even when you are home, to have the energy to be present, Stugotz, to be present in the thing, to not be daydreaming about, holy shit, Myles Garrett is coming across this week. The idea of being present at home at his age in that sphere, I could see how it would be very hard, and I don't see how you can do it part-time.
The job is it's all consuming. But Dan, are you, because they play the Cowboys? He said he's excited. He loves playing in Dallas. He's playing against America's team. Even though we said yesterday that the Lobos are America's team, are you questioning whether or not Tom Brady's going to have a good season? Because I would prefer you not do that, Dan. In fact, don't do it. I care about you.
I have this theory that I haven't come out with yet because of
a good one.
Legalities, and I don't want us to get in trouble as a show. But like, you know how people have said a number of things like, oh, he was gone because of the massing. Oh, he was gone and his face looks different. He had something, his hair is this or his cheeks or whatever, right? Oh, his family life, blah, blah, blah. I have this theory that I've been thinking, right? What if every offseason for the past 4 or 5 offs, because we would agree, right? Granted, like what he's doing is unprecedented. We've never seen someone at this age do what he's doing, right? How does he do it? How does his body? Is it Alex Guerrero? Who knows? So I've been thinking, what if like for the past 4 or 5 off seasons, he's slowly just been having procedures where like he is replacing like his knee or like his hip and then his other knee and his other hip.
With what?
And he's just putting in like bionic, like robotic thing, like metal pieces, right? So like he will never feel any of this pain because he doesn't have bones anymore. It's all just metal and heart and his brain and his arm.
What about emotional pain?
Just the heart.
Yeah. Is it possible that he's had things like that done and it's none of the other things?
It's possible.
It's a good theory.
Dan?
Don't throw that shit back at me. You guys swim in that deep end. Don't throw that at me. Hey, that's always the solution.
We're just asking you if you want to think.
We're not
telling you how to think.
I think he's a robot. Yes, I think he's a
How
robot.
else can
Yes.
he been doing it?
Dan, he's a cybernetic organism, living tissue over matter endoskeleton.
We're not telling you how to think, Dan.
I think you are, actually.
We're just asking you. You'd like to.
So no.
Stugotz is off doing God Bless Football things. He'll be back at the end of the hour for TJ Houshmandzadeh, and we've got some SUEY categories today. 3 SUEY categories today. Chris Cody says he loves the most uncomfortable moment.
Ooh, is that oh my God. I
Feel the tension.
The Paul O'Neill. We could have just played the entire Paul O'Neill interview, honestly. It's the rare. Usually in one interview there will only be one nomination. Dan is nominated twice in the Paul interview. The start of it and the end of it. So check that out today.
Best story will be later on in the show, and best laugh as well will be later on the show. So we will have plenty to cover here. Amin Hassan joins us, and we are grateful for his presence. I wanted to ask you for a couple of different things. First of all, there is a great deal of controversy with NBA players and their 2K rankings.
Oh, it's the season.
Kevin Durant says it's laughable that he gets a 96 instead of a 99. Klay Thompson does not like that as a shooter, he's Luke Kennard. He's 88 instead of the 99 that Steph is. And a whole lot of people are wondering whether Jimmy Butler should be 5 points better than Paul George. So your thoughts on the 2K rankings?
First of all, laughable. That's another word I forgot on the list the other day. Laughable. Oh, it's laughable. This is something I can laugh at. That's what laughable means. It doesn't mean you're actually laughing at it. It means this is something I can laugh at. It's laughable. Stupid word. Stupid word. Get it out of the lexicon. This is the dumbest thing ever. And they do it every year. I had this conversation in my group chat with my my cousins and my friends who work in the music industry, and they were saying, one of them said, I wish there was something reputable like this for music. And I said, you think this is reputable? They said, well, the players all seem to respect us. Like, no, it's a video game they play, and they're feeling butthurt that their number isn't as high as they think they should be, which is literally every single athlete. Every single player in the NBA looked at his rating and said, not high enough, right? Every single one, starting with Kevin Durant all the way down. So the idea that this has any sort of weight or merit, no, it's just, if it were a game they didn't play, right? If it were NBA Live, for instance, nobody would care because they don't play it. But because they play this game in their free time, they want to know that I'm represented the way I am, which is why, by the way, one of the most popular features in 2K is the what? Is my player, right? Because that allows every single human being on Earth to have that same feeling. Oh, I should be rated higher. I'm going to go work out and do this and that. But all of it is dumb and meaningless and just there just to stir up conversation at a time typically where we have nothing to talk about.
Oh, but they legitimately get their feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Like it's not fraudulent to say that Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson, and we've talked about this in general, just the spitting defiance of the Warriors winning the title, whether the new norm is going to be more and more craving of more and more respect and finding disrespect wherever you can find it. And the internet is plentiful in this regard, but lest Kevin Durant not get enough of his disrespect from the internet, he now goes after Ronnie.
Yeah, Ronnie 2K, what a guy. My favorite part is Durant kind of does that, and then all the people responding to him, and then his responses to the people. That's the funny part. That's what because he says that thing, and like 2 minutes later, someone has uploaded a very like well-produced TikTok style video where the tweet is the green screen and the guy's recapping what happened when Kevin Durant got upset, like in a very serious news report way. And Durant's like, my man, you were quick with it, huh? You just jumped to it. There's another one where the guy says, that's because you don't have the it package. And Durant says, what comes with the it package? He's a funny guy. That's
how can you not love someone getting indignant and calling laughable? I shouldn't be 96. I'm a 99. I need 3 extra points. It's not good enough that my grade would be an A. I need to be a slightly higher A.
All right. So first of all, it says, A, Ronnie 2K, I'm going to need an explanation on why I'm not a 99. This has become laughable. So for him, this is a trend of things that are happening, and this is just the cherry on top. But then the guy tweets that little video, and he says, you uploaded this in record timing, my boy. God damn. This is a funny response. And then some dude says, because you haven't showed the he's it factor, big bro, and that's coming from a fan of you. This guy's real serious. So Durant responds, what comes with the he's it package?
What does come with the he's it package?
Like you're at a car wash and it's the highest tier of package where they detail your car.
That's exactly what it is.
It's 2 hours of detailing.
Right. But like this for me is in some ways like, not to get too serious about 2K ratings, but this is in some ways what the new media is all about. It's just basically like, who are the gatekeepers of who says that I'm good or not? And it's just some dudes that make video games that determine who are the best players in the video game, right? There's not a ton of science behind it. They're not the people who know most about basketball, just as we, the media, are like, how are we the gatekeepers on what's good and what's bad? And Stugotz yelling at Kevin Durant for making the wrong decision. Like, why does Stugotz get to be the one who determines that?
But that's why this is great, right? Because it's like a bunch of people you don't know, and they're like, watch Klay freak out to this. And then you just give them a random number knowing that you're going to get them upset. And by the way, then they're all talking about your video game. So like the worse ratings you give them, the more upset they get, the more there's free publicity for this video game where everybody's talking about the video game because they're upset about these arbitrary numbers.
Luke Kennard shot 45% from 3 last year. It's harsh to say I'm only as good as Luke Kennard. He's career 42.5% from 3. It's a good 3-point shooter.
It's just a funny name. It's just there's no one listening to this who doesn't understand why Klay Thompson would be offended that his shooting rating is the same as Luke Kennard. It's simply a funny name. And as an added bonus, he looks the way Luke Kennard does.
The other part of this is that Klay isn't a guy who talks, isn't a guy who reacts a lot, but when he does, It is very like vociferous. So think about when the top 75 players came out and he wasn't on the list. He was legitimately upset to the point where the Warriors were so tickled that he was so upset they hung a number 77 jersey in his locker. Like, hey, you almost made it. You're the 77th best player of all time. But Clay, that it hit him. That thing hit him hard. And so this is like another example of him, I think, feeling slighted, perhaps because of his injury.
For those wondering, because Amin said they put a 77, what happened to 76? It's because there were 76 players in the top 75.
Thank you. It's a good qualifier there that you're offering, Billy. I have some basketball questions, even though this is very much football week. What are the Warriors going to do with their salary cap problem, such that it is? I know that they go well into the luxury tax, but they've got to make a decision between Draymond and Wiggins and Clay and Poole. They can't keep all of those guys, correct, after next season? So what is the decision that they're going to end up making, do you think?
I think the name of the game is to win as many of these things as possible until you can't, until it's not viable anymore. And right now, they're in a position where their window is as open as it's been. They gave up. They did the right thing this offseason where it's like, hey, we had some role players. They played well. They went and got more money elsewhere. Mwah. Adios. Have a nice life. Gary Payton, go back home to Portland or wherever you're from. Hey, Bielitsa, you go back to Europe. Cool. Otto Porter, Chicago or wherever he went. Yep, that's cool too. Or Toronto, he went to Toronto. And then we're going to replenish. We got JaMychal Green. They got Dante DiVincenzo. And
they have rookies coming through.
They got
young players.
Young players coming through, which they planned for. They planned last year that we're going to play these guys as rookies because eventually that's the succession plan for those guys. So for now, they don't have to do anything. Jordan Poole is the most pressing issue, and if he doesn't get extended here before the start of the season, he's just going to be a restricted free agent next summer. And we see that typically tends to favor the team in terms of control, right? Whether you're DeAndre Ayton and you didn't want to be there and they're like, too bad, we're keeping you, or you're Colin Sexton in Cleveland, and they're like, we don't know what to do with you, and then here comes a Donovan Mitchell deal. Boom, we'll sign and trade you there. There's value in holding a restricted free agency right. So there's no pressing concern to get Jordan Poole done, particularly as Tyler Hero still isn't done.
He's not done yet, no.
So it's like what Tyler Hero gets, what Colin Sexton got, what R.J. Barrett got, like all of these numbers I think are going to factor into what Jordan Poole gets because that's his peer group.
We get somebody writing in from yesterday's Knicks take. That's some stew-level hot take from Danny saying Knicks are mismanaged disaster because they didn't trade the kitchen sink for Mitchell. However, if they did and are at the bottom of the standings come All-Star game, Dan will be first in line to shout that they're a mismanaged disaster.
He's that guy.
I will be first in line. I'll knock people out of the way. 20 years I've gotten to be at the front of that line, and I always get to be right on mismanaged disaster. Another decade of irrelevance coming from the Knicks.
Dan, don't be ridiculous. You don't have to knock anyone out there. The bouncer's just going to pick up that velvet rope right here. This way, Mr. LeBatard. Come, we got your table ready in front of the stage.
Where do you stand on the Knicks and them missing out on Donovan Mitchell? And you're more qualified to speak on what I was talking about. CAA running the Knicks, Leon Rose running the Knicks, and he was supposed to get the players with relationships. I thought that, not player evaluation, was the strength there.
Well, I would be remiss to not say today's edition of Basketball Illuminati, we address many of these things, talk about that Donovan Mitchell deal and what happened with the Knicks. Basketball Illuminati. Keep your third eye open. Available wherever you get podcasts. We also talked to Sean Patrick Griffin, who we kind of did a post-mortem on that Donahue documentary. And let me tell you something, guys.
A lot of holes in it, huh?
A lot of holes. So you definitely don't want to miss
What happened there with Untold? They've done good work, but they trusted Donahue a little too much, to be honest, and they didn't vet some of the stuff he was saying.
Untold, to me, the power of Untold is we get these people in the chair. You're going to hear from these people. And now, what they say is just, but we're going to take their word for it, but we get them in the chair. So they got Donnie in the chair, and they got Batista and Martino. But the reality is, there were things that were, what Sean Patrick Griffin, who wrote the book Gaming the Game, which was the in-depth, definitive, account of what happened in this scandal. He says, there's stuff that I know because I wrote this book, and if you read my book, you'd know it too. And then there's stuff that just doesn't make sense, like just on a surface level. Very lazy kind of documentary work, if you will. There's a part where he starts off, first of all, he mentions a lot of stuff, non sequitur stuff that has nothing to do with him. Oh, that Kings-Lakers game, one of the worst officiating. Was there any kind of fixing going on? No? You don't know? Okay, so what are you doing? You're just saying things. The other thing was, they never mentioned this in the documentary, and this is in the book. They said, oh, he's 37-10. He's the Elvis. He's 37-10 on games that he officiated in. When he had to pick games that he wasn't an official in, including a handful that were Scott Foster games, his guy, he went to like 1-6 or 1-7. He was so bad, they told him, never mind. Let's just stick with the ones that you're repping, because clearly you have no insights. Clearly you don't know what you're talking about. And so there's a lot of stuff like that. Just the code they talk about. If I ask about your brother Chuck, it's a home game. If I ask about Johnny, it's a road game, right? It's the road team.
Because they feared they were being wiretapped?
Sure. Hey, let me ask you something. How does that code work when there's 13 games on the schedule? Meaning that can only apply to one game. Which game do you think he's talking about? Scott Foster's game? Is he talking about Tony Brothers' game? Derek Stafford's game?
I got you off the topic. You can cover. You can get more of this on Basketball Illuminati.
One last thing, because Tom came up with this one. They had the clip with Knicks Heat, and Derek Stafford hated Pat Riley, and Isaiah Thomas is his boy, and I knew he would try to stick it to him. Tom went back and watched that game, did the analysis. Derek Stafford called 16 calls. 9 of them were for the Knicks, 7 in favor of the Heat. Tim Donaghy made 18 calls. Set the line. How many do you think were for the Heat and how many for the Knicks?
Why don't you just tell us?
16 calls for the Knicks. 16.
Wow.
So if you're talking about the Knicks covering a spread because one of the refs had ulterior motives, that's absolutely true. But it wasn't Derek Stafford. It was Tim Donaghy. And he walked around in this documentary throwing accusations left and right that were just patently false to anyone who did 5 seconds of research, like Tom did, or read a book that Sean Patrick Griffin wrote, would have known immediately this guy's full of shit. But they didn't. And everyone's running around saying, oh, this document, I knew it. I knew the NBA was rigged. I knew, they're trying to silence this guy. Oh, David Stern would have had a drone strike to stop it. No, man, no. The guy's a liar.
Don't watch Untold, the documentary series with Donaghy. Do listen to Basketball Illuminati.
Bang.
If you want to be properly informed on this. Again, though, you're having trouble answering my questions because I asked you about the Knicks.
All I got out of that story is Tim Donaghy should be a celebrity prognosticator this year.
Again?
Oh,
we've used him before. Yes.
Repeat offender. Let's do it.
Repeat offender.
Yes, we have used him before. The Knicks.
The Knicks. Okay, so here's the interesting things about the Knicks. We start with everyone missed the boat. Everyone's asking, did the Knicks not offer enough? Were they offering too much? No one stopped to ask, is Donovan Mitchell a good fit for this team? For $5, for $5 million, for one draft pick, a second-round pick, for all the draft picks. Is he a good fit for this team? Let's assume they got Donovan Mitchell and they didn't have to give up their precious R.J. Barrett. Donovan Mitchell, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson. Does that sound like, cohesive pieces that really complement one another? No, it's a terrible fit. Donovan Mitchell's a star, yes. The only reason they were chasing him was because he's a star and because he was a CAA guy. If you stop there and say, wait a second, what am I building? What am I trying to build to? Even if R.J. Barrett isn't there. Brunson just left Dallas because he doesn't want to play behind a guy who's ball dominant, right? Nothing personal. It's just like, hey, I think I'm a lead guard. I think I proved it when Luka was out. I want to be a lead guard. I'm going to do it in New York. Awesome. And then a month later, you try and go get another guy to make him go back to what he was doing? Come on, man. It's all ridiculous. No one stops to ask, should we do this? It's just, can we do this? But should we do this? The answer should have been no. So the Knicks, I think, dodged the bullet in not allowing their own lunacy to get them into a situation that was doomed to fail. The problem is, once you get into this, you're in a lose-lose situation. If you got him, it wouldn't have worked, and everyone would have said you gave up too much. If you don't get him, everyone's saying, I thought you were the guy that's supposed to get us guys, Leon Rose. And on that note, and you guys are going to love this one. Do you guys know who did the negotiation for the Knicks?
Who's that, Amin?
And for the Jazz? For the Jazz, it was Justin Zanuck, who is the GM. Danny Ainge is the president of basketball operations. Justin Zanuck is the GM. He does the day-to-day stuff. For the Knicks, it wasn't Leon Rose, this agent, negotiator, kind of shark from the business world, right? Who has relationships everywhere. That's what they sold us on. It wasn't Scott Perry, the GM, who does the day-to-day stuff. It was Gerson Rosas, who was hired recently as an advisor. Guys, I've never heard of an advisor leading the negotiation on, and that's not a knock on Gerson, right? Gerson is
it sounds like a knock on.
No,
Gerson.
it's not. It
sounds like a knock on Gerson.
It's not because
we're knocking on Gerson.
We're
knocking on Gerson.
No,
he shouldn't have been doing the negotiation. You're saying he shouldn't have been doing the negotiation.
I'm saying as an advisor, if he had a different title, so it's not the man I'm talking about. It's the position in the company, right? I would trust myself to negotiate on behalf of Meadowlark, but my title does not lend itself to be someone who should be speaking on behalf of Meadowlark, right? His title does not lend itself to be someone who should be speaking on behalf of the team. Advising, sure. Input, sure. But leading the negotiation, again, not about Rosas. It's about an advisor, not your president, who's a freaking former agent and was brought in here because of relationships and negotiating. And he's literally 0 for 2 on both of those things.
Mismanaged. I can go to the front of the line and accuse them of being mismanaged.
Right this way, Mr. LeBatard.
How about Bleacher
The
Report?
usual?
How about Bleacher Report? Yes, please. I'll have the platter of Knicks are always in a lose-lose situation, no matter what the situation is. The Bleacher Report says that the Miami Heat have the 9th best starting lineup in the league. This, as the 76ers add Montrezl Harrell, it seems because Daryl Morey and James Harden cut a wink-wink deal that allows the Sixers to have room.
Which team?
For Montrezl Harrell.
Where did he sign?
The Sixers.
I thought he signed with the Philadelphia Rockets. I got to check my notes here. Hold on. Yeah, no. Daryl Morey, James Harden, Daniel House. No, this is the Rockets, man. I don't know what you're talking about. PJ Tucker? That's the Rockets.
It's like they came to an agreement that, like, these are the only 12 players in the entire NBA that we like. Let's bring them all here.
Tad Brown, right? CEO?
You forgot PJ Tucker.
No, he said PJ Tucker.
Yeah, Steve Martin.
Sorry.
Steve Martin's on this team, too.
So this is what's happening here. This is just the Sixers are recreating. They're making James Harden as comfortable as he was in Houston when he was MVP.
Let me ask you something.
Or James Harden is making James Harden as comfortable as he was when he was in Houston as the MVP.
Let me ask you a very serious question. Everyone's like, oh, my God, they got Montrezl Harrell. Oh, they're so much deeper.
Why are they talking like that?
I don't know. This is when they get excited. They talk like this.
I'm cold. Not you.
I don't feel like that Billy does that a lot, but I don't feel like Montrezl Harrell is the one that causes fans to talk like that.
They are, though. I've been on the internet. Anyone asked the question, why was Montrezl Harrell available to be signed in September?
He's bounced around a lot of teams. He put up good stats he's a good regular season stats guy.
With the Clippers, he was 6th man of the year with the Clippers.
Yes, he was. In a very small, concentrated role. We're just going there, give us energy, roll hard on the basket, to the basket, grab rebounds, but like be terrible defensively, not space the floor, generally be unskilled in a lot of other areas. And he wanted more, and he went a couple of places, and more was not to be found for him, and here we are. He's available in September to get signed. That's usually not a good sign.
I have a reason why he's available to sign in September.
What? Because he had a pending legal issue?
Yeah, well, the pending legal issue is that he was charged for felony marijuana trafficking, and it was reduced to a misdemeanor. So I guess that makes him more palatable to sign.
Sure.
What do you mean, sure?
I
mean, you wouldn't sign someone if they were facing felony charges.
I wouldn't sign him if he wasn't facing felony charges. That's my point.
Man, y'all got a nice little production going. Got everything ready. Shit.
That is TJ Houshmandzadeh. We love his work going back to college. Love his work back when he was scoring touchdowns. And was it getting frisked by Chad Johnson in the end zone, or was he frisking you, or were you frisking him when you guys were running roughshod? That team won 10 or 11 games, right? That team had no business. That team never has any business winning 10 or 11 games. No, I'm not talking about the Bengals. I'm talking about going back to college.
No, that was actually, you know who that was? It was Ken Simonton frisked me. We had talked about it the whole week. Just being in college, man. Matter of fact, I think we won. I think we were 11-1. We lost to UW. We missed a field goal at the end of the game, but it was we were good. We're the best team in the country. And when I got to Cincinnati, we got drafted to the Bengals. It was funny because Peter Warrick and Ron Dugans were on that team. They went to Florida State. Florida State played Oklahoma that year for the national championship. And I told them, I said, man, we'd have smoked y'all. But yeah, we were pretty good. It was Ken Simonton. I don't know if you guys remember. He was our running back, man. If I'm not mistaken, one of the top rushers, even to this day, in Pac-12 history.
Again, though, Stugotz, did you hear what the man said? He is of the belief, and I'm not going to argue with him because that team was overwhelming, and then they won their bowl game by 1,000,000 points. He's making the argument that his Oregon State team is the best team in the country that year, that nobody wanted any part of what was happening in Corvallis.
Hey, Dan, we actually had a lot of guys off that league play a ton of years in the NFL. Like, that kind of goes unnoticed. Myself, Chad, we had Nick Barnett, we had Dwan Edwards, and then we had some other guys actually play a handful of years in the league. But we're a pretty good team, man. We're just a bunch of guys from JUCO, and then the high school kids that actually got a chance, they played well.
I want to talk to you about your podcast. I want to talk to you about football in general and your Bengals career, but take us back to that JUCO-led team. You guys were renegade. You were dangerous. You were overwhelming. How much fun was it to play with a bunch of guys who felt like mercenaries? It felt like you guys were ahead of the curve on, no, we're going to put together a hodgepodge of people from all over, and we're going to drag you, and we're going to celebrate while dragging you.
It was a lot of those guys, me personally, I played against them in JUCO. And so a lot of us took our recruiting trip up to Oregon State, and we was like, man, we come here, we can do damage. And I believe it was like 10 or 11 of us. We all just signed with Oregon State, and we actually did really, I mean, you got to understand, when you go to JUCO, man, you're getting it out the mud. And specifically for somebody like myself, and a lot of people know this, but I didn't play a lot of football growing up. I played 1 year of high school football my entire life. I didn't graduate from high school. I wasn't much of a student. And going to JUCO was like that light bulb went off, and I kind of got my you-know-what together. And just playing with those guys and playing against them, I knew if a lot of us decided to go to Oregon State, we were going to be good, and we were.
You didn't graduate from high school?
No, I don't have a high school diploma at all.
And you were able to do that, to parlay that into, okay, I'm going to be a JUCO transfer, and you were thinking of it as a career?
So when I tell people that, they always like, man, when at least back then, I'm a little older now, as we know, when you go to junior college, you don't have to have a diploma. I just took the assessment test, and I've always thought I was a smart and an intelligent guy. I just didn't apply myself. I didn't like structure. I didn't like people telling me what to do. And so when you told me what to do, I was going to do what I wanted to do. So that's why school and just playing sports wasn't for me at an early age. But I scored high enough on assessment. I got into JUCO. I played my first year, and the head coach was Frank Mazzotta. He was like, I think you can get a scholarship out of this, and you need to start going to school, but what you need to do is go get your GED. So after my first year at junior college, he signed me up for the GED. I went and took the test, obviously passed it with flying colors. But it was because of Frank Mazzotta telling me, like, you're going to get a scholarship, so you need to go to school. You need to get your A. You need to focus. You're going to be able to do something with this. And that was the reason I decided I need to focus and start being a student.
TJ, you know what? I apologize, Dan. I apologize to you because I've looked back at that season, and you're right. They beat UCLA, they beat USC, they beat Notre Dame, they crushed Notre Dame. They beat Oregon. You were the best team in the fucking country.
And it was a bunch of guys who, like TJ, did not want to be told what to do, and they found their coach in. They found their coach.
Yes,
in the guy who was not going to tell them what to do. Correct.
Hey, Dan, I will say this: about time I got to Oregon State, I was okay with being told what to do because unless you're your own boss, somebody's going to tell you what to do. So you're either going to fall in line and you're going to have a long, hard life. And so I didn't want the long, hard life. And so you fall in line. It's not, to be a leader, you got to be able to follow. And so I truly believe that. And somebody's going to have to tell you what to do. And I'm coachable. I can be told what to do. It was just growing up with no father figure. I never had nobody, you got to do this. I've always done what I wanted to do. So anytime, like I went out for football in high school and the coach he was tough, man. He was a tough dude, and he would start yelling, and I would yell back, and he'd be like, get out of here. And I'd be like, I'm leaving. And so it was like, if I want to play football, I got to listen to somebody.
How improbable is your story, right? Because it's not, I don't think it's normal to have as long a career as you did with that as the path.
It's not normal. I was fortunate, man. I know that. I didn't play sports growing up like a lot of these guys did. And so for me to play as long as I did and be in the situation that I'm, just the way I grew up, anybody that people that grew up with me, they knew my lifestyle and how I grew up, man. When you say come from nothing, I'm in the picture. My family is in that dictionary, come from nothing. That's us. We didn't have much, man. We moved around. From place to place, Section 8 getting kicked out. I mean, I done had people murdered in my house because of the lifestyle that my mother was living. And so to be in a situation that I'm in now, but to make it the way that I did, we still talk about it, but at least the guys that I grew up with, like, bruh, you really fortunate to, and I used to say lucky, and people talk, you got to stop saying you lucky, but just fortunate and blessed.
Well, let me ask you some follow-up questions there. How much did you move around?
Oh, man, I moved around. Being from Southern California, I moved around from place to place to place. And then I lived in Texas for a period of time. I lived in Oklahoma for a period of time, and then came back to California.
Come from nothing means what?
Come from nothing means you're on Section 8, you're on welfare, your lights getting cut off. I got an older sister, 2 younger brothers. We sharing 1 box of macaroni and cheese, 1 box of rice-a-roni, all of us. Mother on drugs. So, back then you on welfare, the 1st and the 15th, all that money go to drugs. And so we got to fend for yourself. I was 13 years old, Dan, living like a grown man. I was out there on the streets and I'm on the corner like I was a grown man at 13 years old.
You say the way your mother was living, that's what you're talking about? You're talking about the drug use?
Yeah. I mean, and to this day, Dan, I've never done a drug in my life. I've never smoked anything a day in my life because I saw the effect of that, and I didn't want that for myself. And so never done anything in my life. Cigarette, cigar, weed, never smoked anything a day in my life.
How were you able to avoid trouble, given that there are a whole lot of people who just find trouble because desperation forces it upon you?
I was 13 years old. I was on the corner at 13 years old. I'm thinking I'm grown, thinking I can handle myself like a man. And so when you experience that at a young age, you got to grow up. I got 2 younger brothers. I was taking care of them, and I was 13. They were like my kids, like I was hustling. And so I was buying them school clothes and making sure they went to school, and I wasn't going to school. Like high school, I missed a whole year of high school. I didn't even go to school. I didn't even attend a day of school in high school for an entire year because I was on the streets taking care of my little brothers.
Were you scared, or does the fear eventually leave because you feel bulletproof and you're having success?
You feel like whatever happens, like I can hold my own. Looking back on it, like I have a son. Like I couldn't imagine him doing what I did at 13. I couldn't imagine that. but you do it and you adapt because you see, this is what you see every day. I saw it every day. And so I felt like I was good. I felt like I could protect myself, but you do feel bulletproof for sure. Yes.
Were you actually armed? You must have been at 13, right? Because you had to protect yourself.
A little bit.
I mean, you're a strong person, correct? Like you admire, you look back at what you overcame and you are proud of yourself, correct?
Yeah, I am. That's who I am. I don't wish that on anyone because a lot of kids you succumb to being in the streets or you end up in jail or you end up dead or just whatever may happen. I was, again, one of the fortunate ones. I'm not, it wasn't I would love to do that again, but it made me who I am. Like my little brother, he saw what I was doing and he did it and he went to jail for a long time. And so I was a bad example to him and he wasn't as fortunate as I was to stay out of trouble. And so that is just part of my story. It is who I am, but it made me who I am.
Did you have a chance or opportunity to choose a different path? Or like this is what it had to be because you shouldn't be in charge of a family at 13?
I mean, it was either, again, my mother, we lived with my mother and my sister was pretty much raised by my grandmother. And so my sister, when I was hustling, was with my grandmother at the time. My sister is older than me. And so my mom was on drugs. I'm the oldest one in the house now. So in essence, I got to look at, if my mama's not around, I got to look after them. I got to make sure they're eating. And so I see what's going on in my neighborhood. I see how they get money. I'm going to get money how you get money then.
You speak of this matter-of-factly, right? But I would imagine that there's all sorts of imprinting and patterns that makes it difficult or different for you to trust, for relationships development. All sorts of things can present themselves that end up shaping you. They're not all positive here, I would imagine, right? Like you could present it that way, but these are so many hardships that you're talking about that I would imagine there are all sorts of ways this imprints you in adulthood.
It could be. You know, I'm a guy that I don't let a lot of things bother me. If me and you were tight, we tight. Until you give me a reason to not believe in you, until your integrity is questionable, and until you show me you're not a solid person, we tight. We can be friends. We can be whatever you want us to be until you show me otherwise, until you cross me, so to speak. But I think I'm genuinely a nice person. I treat people how I want to be treated. If I meet a stranger on the street and they want to conversate, I'm going to conversate with them because I'm a people person. But until you show me otherwise, you be cool with me, I'm going to be cool with you. And then when you cross me, then that's it.
Did Chad Johnson change a lot from college to the pros? You spent so much time together. Were you a part of him deciding, or were you near it when he decided, no, I'm going to go the Ocho Cinco route. There's a marketing machine here. I'm going to go brand management. I'm going to turn this into an act because there's money in it.
Chad is a smart guy. Chad is a genuinely good person, nice person, will give. He's probably too nice, too giving. But in college, I was a talkative one. You know, I was the shit talker, so to speak. Chad experienced success before me in the NFL. But Chad is smart. He knew he wanted to market himself. I don't believe he knew how big it could get and what he was doing. But Chad is a genius, bro. Chad is a genius when it comes to the way he marketed himself. And look what it's done for him now. And he's been out the league for a decade. And you say Ocho Cinco, everybody knows who that is. He's done a hell of a job with that. But I don't know if he thought about it or if it was just him having fun and it morphed into this.
You are doing a season preview, and people can see it noon, September 12th, Fubo Sports Network, airing it out with Housh and Scandrick. It is with Orlando Scandrick, the former Cowboy. What are you guys doing there? What is it that you want to accomplish? Why are you pairing with him?
So me and O doing it on Fubo. It's we did a podcast last year, called about the game, me and Orlando, and I just thought our chemistry was we did a really good job with it. It was good. We had really good chemistry, me and Orlando did. And Orlando, I don't know how much you know about Orlando, he just gonna say whatever he feels. I believe we're knowledgeable about football. And a lot of guys will say, oh, we're knowledgeable, but both of us, I'm not going to not say what I feel because I don't want to offend somebody. If somebody's not doing or playing the way they should play, I'm going to say it. And I know how it is. I didn't play the way I wanted to play. Fuck, I dropped balls, I dropped punts, I missed assignments. And so I get it. It's not what a guy's trying to do, but it needs to be pointed out if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And so me and Orlando is going to give it a raw perspective of what needs to be done each Sunday. And if you're not doing it, we're going to let it be known.
I failed there. It is not obviously FUBU, it's FUBOs.
You're probably not the first and won't be the last, Dan, with that one.
It is Fubo, and it is Fubo's Sports Network that he's doing the podcast with Orlando Scandrick on.
TJ, I have the Dolphins winning the Super Bowl. Do you agree?
Oh, you don't. You messing around.
No, I'm not messing around. I have them win the Super Bowl. Listen, I'm going to teach you about this business.
Hey, where are you guys at right now?
We're in Miami. I'm a Jet fan.
That's why I asked that. Is that
You're
why?
going to teach him about the business? What are you doing?
No, I'm just trying. You got to listen. Once in a while, you have to come out with a wild prediction, and hopefully it lands, okay? And if it does, everyone will remember you forever. And if it doesn't, no big deal.
Okay, so that's the advice that you have for this man, the life advice on how to do this in this business.
Yes.
Just say ridiculous things.
Yes.
You know what, though? I don't believe the Dolphins are going to make the Super Bowl, but I believe the Dolphins are going to have a really good season. I truly do.
Thank you.
People get on Tua. I like Tua. I think Tua's going to be fantastic. And I just don't understand. When you look at Tua in college, his receivers were so good that he actually went to the Miami Dolphins and he played with lesser talent. He played with lesser talent at the Miami Dolphins than he had at Alabama. He has those receivers now that can create separation, that can run, that he had at Alabama. His offensive line is going to be better. He has a lot of fast guys on offense. Mostert can run. Like, they have explosive athletes on the offensive side of the ball. I believe Tua is going to do well. Super Bowl, no, but I believe the Dolphins will surprise some people. They don't beat the Patriots this Sunday, that's for sure.
Attaboy.
That's for sure, he has said. What else do you have for us? If you were to take his advice and give us what is one of your more surprising or extreme positions, something in the sport that other people aren't saying, what would it be?
I believe the Philadelphia Eagles quite possibly will come out the NFC.
Whoa! Why are so many people saying that?
Yeah,
the
Eagles hype train is a real
why
thing.
Why do so many
Good
people
off-season,
love
they
that
believe in
football
Jalen
team?
Hurts. I mean,
if you look at them defensively, they're stout across defensive line, check. Linebackers, check. Secondary with Darius Slay, and they get Bradbury. It's really going to be, can Jalen Hurts take that next step? If Jalen Hurts takes that next step, the Eagles are going to be a really tough team to beat. They have two receivers that can really play in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. We know they can run the ball. And all this is dependent on, can Jalen Hurts take that next step? I believe he will. Now, it's not going to be easy. The Rams, they're not just going to give it up, but the Rams have a tough schedule, man. They played the AFC West. They got a tough schedule. And then the Bucs. I don't know what's going to happen, when Tom Brady takes a sabbatical in training camp and how all this plays out. The Bucs are going to be tough to beat. But I like what the Eagles – I like what they did in the draft. They got young at positions that they needed help at. If Jalen Hurts takes that next step, I think the Eagles can be special.
Sabbatical in training camp?
Yeah, sabbatical. For me, I love Brady, man, but I just don't believe you can do that. I don't believe you can do that. It's just, I don't care who you are. Yeah, you're Tom Brady, and when you tell the coach that, he's going to okay it, but you can't do that.
Really? So you think that his teammates don't allow a wider berth just because of the absurdity of there's one guy in the sport you might make a different set of rules for?
I mean, they'll allow it because they don't have a choice, right? Todd Bowles, nah, Tom, you can't go. Okay, I'll retire then. So it's either that or this. Maybe not that black and white, but I just feel like when you're the quarterback and you're the leader of that team, everybody has problems. I get it. Everybody has problems, but to leave in training camp for a week and a half, if things don't go well, they're going to point to that. And if things do go well, they go, oh, see, it's Tom Brady. It's not a big deal. And I don't believe it's going to matter because Tom is that good, but you can't be a leader of a team and take time off because you have problems. Everybody has problems.
You're speaking to a mentality, too, in that clubhouse, in the locker room, in the huddle, right, where the ethos and the principle is so strong of we're all in this together. Like that the lack of dependability, I'm not surprised to hear you say that, but I don't hear a lot of people saying it because it's Tom Brady.
Yeah, and it's because of the type of teammate and guy that Brady's been his entire career. And you in New England, answer this. In New England, he wouldn't even think to ask Bill that. You're not asking Belly, hey, can I take this week and a half off? Can you imagine him sitting down asking Bill that? He wouldn't do it. And so you go to Tampa, it's that parent that I'm going to go ask my mom or my dad because I think I got a chance to get away with this. And that's what he did in Tampa. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. You can't tell me we in this together, we're going to do this together, and then you have a problem and you leave. And that problem can be huge. I get it. But there's a lot of guys that have a lot of problems that never get into the locker room because they know this is my job. And I have to do my job. It's a must that I do my job. And I can't take a sabbatical because I have a lot of shit going on.
Do you have a corner who spent more time than most talking to you that had a lot to say that you remember off the top of your head?
Yeah. I mean, it was always the teams we played the most. But I talked a lot. I would probably say Ike Turner. Why'd I say Ike Turner?
What's love got to do with it?
It happens with age. I don't know why it is that I don't know why Tina Turner's abusive husband was running around in a secondary chasing you.
I can't even think of his last name. What, from the Steelers? Ike. What's Ike's last name?
Oh my God! Why am I drawing a blank? And my entire room now is drawing a blank.
Ike Taylor.
Instead of Turner.
See, I knew it was an Ike with a T. But yes. Ike Taylor, Ike Taylor, he didn't really start it, but if I said something, it was all game. And so Ike Taylor from the Steelers, and by the way, I think Ike Taylor's probably one of the most underrated DBs that played in the league, at least when I was playing. Everybody else got the credit in Pittsburgh. He didn't get much. It was going to Potamalu, it was going to Porter, it was going to that front, Casey Hampton and those guys, but Ike Taylor was underrated. But yeah, if you say something crazy to Ike Taylor, it's all game. He's not going to forget about it. It's the entire game, so just be ready.
Did you run into a corner who was more likely than most? The statute of limitations is up on this. It can be said now. You don't have to give everybody the bravado. Was there a corner the night before you're like, oh, my God, my hands are so full. This is going to be really difficult?
Nah, I never looked at it like that. I remember we were playing the Raiders, and if you recall, when they had Nnamdi, and who was the other corner? He went Fabian Washington. Marvin Lewis pointed out to me and Chad, they play man-to-man all game. If you guys can't get open, we're not going to win. And I could be wrong here, but I think me and Chad both had almost 100 yards at halftime.
So there was nobody. That the confidence level had to be in your offense so strong that there was nobody that was feared the night before.
Yeah, I think I'm a confident person. Anybody that knows me, I believe in myself wholeheartedly. It doesn't matter who I'm going against. And obviously, Chad, he believes that as well. And as I'm telling you this, my wife can hear everything that I'm saying. And she said, Ike Turner, wow, boy, what are you thinking?
Again, it is Fubo. It's the Sports Network airing it out with Hoosh and Scandrick. He is co-hosting alongside Orlando Scandrick. And September 12th, it's noon Eastern. Thank you, TJ. Appreciate the time, sir.
Hey, man, you guys enjoy that time in Miami. And if the Dolphins make the Super Bowl, at least I know one person that said it first.
Thank you, sir.
You guys take care. Appreciate you.
Thanks, TJ. Have a good one.
Take care, guys.